We woke up to a day we have all been waiting for. Tina Peters is being released from prison today. The former Mesa County, Colorado clerk has been jailed after investigating a 2020 election. Governor Jared Polis has issued a clemency, and today she is coming home. Tina Peters' attorney, Peter Tickton, says the details of her release will remain private for now for her own personal security. We will provide more details for you as they become available. Thanks so much for joining us on this Monday morning. I'm Vanessa Broussard. Also new this morning, Minnesota Republicans are facing questions after technical difficulties with electronic voting clickers at the state GOP convention over the weekend. Rick Weibel, campaign manager for Mike Lindell, joining us today. Rick, I was following this in real time as it was going on. What went wrong?
Well, Murphy reared his ugly head and showed up at not only just the MNGOP convention, but also at the Democrat convention. And the voting devices, the electronics, failed at both conventions. And so immediately we had to create posters. Mike was right. And this is absolutely incredible. We should not be using electronics in our elections. This is why paper ballots are so important in every area of elections. And so there are questions that remain. For example, we were told that when we look at the party platform, it says they will support electronic voting if there are paper receipts. We have not seen any paper receipts so far yet from these machines. And so a lot of candidates are now questioning after the failure on Saturday. Even the Friday candidates are now asking, hey, was my election accurate? And so there are many delegates that are asking to see the receipts of their devices to confirm whether or not their vote was properly calculated. And what's interesting is that some of the devices would act, what was supposed to happen is the delegate would select the candidate or option that they wanted, and then it was supposed to come back and say submitted or received, and then it would have the number shown back as to what they voted. Well, we were seeing errors out there. We were seeing received without the vote coming back with a record. We were even seeing not, like not received or even just no acknowledgement. And so with over 2,000 folks on the floor and not all of them staying in the same spot, I wonder if there was network issues, if there was because people were leaving the floor and then coming back, if that was creating issues for the devices. So I asked the deputy chair, Donna Bergstrom, to take a look at the configuration of the devices to basically see, was there a time to live issue that was creating a problem for these clickers? Was there congestion on the main entrance door overloading that router potentially? So we need to look at the log files. It would really behoove the Republican Party to be transparent immediately, because here's the issue. The issue is that Tuesday at 5 p.m. is the deadline for all candidates to file to run in the primary. Now, Mike Lindell was honest up front that we were running as a campaign into the primary and stopping along the way to seek the endorsement of the GOP. However, there are people who signed the endorsement pledge and the abiding pledge that now raises questions as to whether or not they will abide by those pledges and or break them and then now file. And so there was a little bit of strategy on the convention floor as well, which was separate from the clickers. So when we look at the polling that was very viral last week, with Lindell being in the lead of all of the candidates in the Republican Party for the governor's race, but then with the Trump endorsement exploding with 20 to 30% additional support for Mike, this is absolutely incredible. And so when we were on the floor, Mike was in third. And at first, we were looking at, okay, let's just not help either one of the candidates to seek the endorsement. But then, after careful consideration, we had a decision to make. Do we allow our delegation, or not allow, but do we encourage our delegation to support either Lisa or Kendall Qualls? We decided at that point in time to encourage our delegates to go ahead and support Kendall. And so Lisa was in the lead, but then all of a sudden, with our support and the delegates, boom, all of a sudden now Kendall goes into the lead, and then the clickers fail. And this was absolutely incredible. And we were seeing different vote totals throughout the day on Friday and Saturday. And these weren't just minor vote totals. They were like almost 0.25% of the entire delegation. And there were excuses out there on Friday basically saying, oh, well, there was a big line at the bathrooms. Well, I was out on the floor where the bathrooms were. There was no line out there that would indicate almost 20 to 25% of the delegation being outside of the room with these clickers. And so they were, and it was so bad. The delegation even had a chance to go to paper, and they resisted it, and they kept the delegation on hold for over 2 hours while they tried to sort out the issue with the clickers. This is the beauty of paper. This kind of stuff never, ever happens. And so as soon as this started happening, I went to the campaign room and started printing out Mike was right posters and started bringing them in. They then tried to ban those posters, and luckily, Larry Deuce was able to go talk to the parliamentarian and reverse that decision. And so we printed more and got them more out there. And it was great to see all of a sudden Lisa Damath all of a sudden become an election integrity supporter on the fly when the vote totals were not in her favor anymore. And this started to happen. And so this is where it's really interesting to kind of see in real time corruption of an election system. And all of a sudden, we had one of the best trainings and one of the best educations for Mike Lindell and his candidacy and everything that he's been fighting for the last 5 years. And what was even more interesting is that you have the top two election folks sitting there at the convention with Mike and myself, and they didn't want us to even help or even offer any advice on what the next steps should be. And so we were pushed to the corner. And even at one point where Mike was conducting interviews with the press, the MNGOP wanted to literally have him removed from there. And so I said, look, just let him finish this interview and we'll have the other reporters, Boyce Olson, interview him out in the hallway. And they were like, well, that would be a bad look. And I said, good, now you agree with me. So calmer heads can prevail and we can let Mike and the reporter finish their interview that they're in the middle of out of respect. We weren't on the convention floor because that area was completely roped off. And so we were in the press area, not impacting the convention in any way. But they were impacting the convention with the crowd that they were bringing forward.
Of course. And, again, I talked about this last week with another story. The irony of it all. This happens in Mike Lindell's race, his campaign. This is what he's been fighting for. This is what he's known for. And this happens. We're all watching it unfold. If you're not in Minnesota and you were paying attention over the weekend, there were delays. There were concerns, like you just mentioned, leading to some campaigns, like you just mentioned, questioning the accuracy of these tabulators. Mike was right. These electronic systems cannot be trusted. Mike actually put out a video as this was going on. I want our viewers to watch what Mike had to say.
Hello, everyone. Here we are up in Duluth, Minnesota at the state convention. Well, here we are, and we're all out here on break because the voting machines broke down, so they say. They've had problems with them for 2 days. Pretty easy solution, paper ballots hand counted. But it looks like no one's going to get an endorsement up here. Of course, they put me as I was qualified with reservation, which means they had reservations about me because, he's bankrupt. They had all these things they said on the stage, which were lies. My pillow's not bankrupt. My pillow's still standing, and it's just disgusting what the GOP leadership tried to do to me. Silence my voice. They didn't let me have the delegate list to reach out and market them. I couldn't go to a lot of the events. They banned me from being on TV on the debate last week, even though I'm polling number one in the last 3 polls against the Republicans. So God bless you, and we're still standing, and we're going to beat Amy Klobuchar.
And Mike
Mike
is
is always
absolutely
still
right there.
standing.
Yeah, he's
Absolutely
still
he is.
standing,
Mike
and he
was
wants to
right.
stand with the voters.
Yes.
Yep. So,
And
and this is
that's
absolutely
who
incredible.
counts, Rick. That's who yes, that's what matters is the voters, not the establishment, not the people, behind the scenes making sure that you aren't there. The voting machines are broken down, the tabulators are broken down. They don't want your advice. They want to push you out into the hallway, but it's the people of Minnesota in these polls who are, voting for Mike, who are showing him number one, leading the pack in all of these polls. Those are the people who vote and those are the people who matter. So where does Mike go from here?
Oh, this is easy. And so this is so right now we're at the halftime show, is the way to look at this. And so we have some exciting news that is going to develop this week. And so there's going to be the development of the clickers. Where does the MNGOP go? But all of that aside, Mike has a clear path. And of course, for us, pretty soon the third quarter starts. We already know Mike is going to file and run for governor of Minnesota. And so that filing deadline is Tuesday at 5 p.m. at the Secretary of State's office. So then we start marching towards the August 11th primary. As part of that exciting news this week, Mike will be picking a lieutenant governor running mate. And so that will be exciting news. And so with this third quarter, we already have set up fundraising events in Las Vegas, also at Bedminster. And so we are ready to go as a campaign to really go forward because we were honest with the state party and all of the delegates up front that Mike was going to run in the primary because as Mike says, with Armageddon, where when Bruce Willis is asked, why are you going up there, Daddy? Because I don't trust anyone else to get the job done right. And so Mike is right about this, is that he has the right intellect, he has the right vision, and he knows how to spot out irregularities called deviations. He saw it in the elections. He can see it in everything in Minnesota government happening right now. And Minnesota is just full of fraud. And the establishment, led by Lisa Demuth in the House, literally misstepped. And so we're going to educate Minnesota what Lisa did and what Mike can do and what the campaign is going to do to investigate fraud during the campaign. We're going to put it out there. We are going to let the media know exactly where it is at. We're going to document everything, and we're going to be converting our website to be identifying the fraud and the great work that other media outlets have done here in Minnesota. And so as Mike is the best marketer there is, we are going to make sure that the public understands that the fraud fight is not over, and we are going to have real accountability through the Lindell campaign.
I love it. And you can go to his website right now. We encourage everyone, all of our viewers, to do so. If you are in Minnesota or surrounding states or just anywhere in America and you want to go help Mike Lindell volunteer, you can do so by going to his website. You can also donate there as well. MikeLindellGov.com is the website, MikeLindellGov.com. Rick, it's just another day of fighting the deep state and the establishment, but Mike Lindell knows exactly how they operate and knows exactly how to beat them at their own game. And so we're excited about tomorrow's deadline and what's ahead for Mike Lindell. Keep up the great work. We love to see what Mike is doing and continuing to poll at number one there in Minnesota. Thanks for joining us and updating us today.
Thank you for having me, and stay awesome, everyone.
To Michigan now, where a judge has thrown out felony charges in an election integrity case there. Stephanie Lambert with us today to talk about this case. Stephanie, good to have you on the show. You've been through the ringer. First, tell us about how all of this came about.
Well, Vanessa, there was a campaign under the Biden administration to weaponize against attorneys handling the unpopular causes, or so the media painted it that way, or attorneys representing clients such as clerks that were exposing evidence. And that's exactly what happened here. I was representing the Adams Township clerk. The Michigan Director of Elections, Jonathan Brader, was sending threatening communications to this clerk because she was starting to expose and address fraudulent registrations in her township. And she was sending these to the state. So without realizing it, she sent off like a red flag that she was in the voter roll. And the Michigan Director of Elections, the very person threatening her, had inflated the voter roll by 700,000 just weeks before the 2020 election. So he started this campaign to get all of her data and have it erased. So he told her to erase her EPB data, which is the electronic poll book data of showing who voted in the 2020 election. And he told her that she needed to have her tabulator turned over for an update, which it wasn't due pursuant to contract for an update. And she was concerned that would wipe the data. So I started representing her, and she was concerned that if she wiped the data, she would be committing felonies, which 20701 is, you have to maintain the data for 22 months. So there was a communication back to the state that she didn't want to, do anything that could risk deleting this data that she was required to preserve. And so at that point, then there was a bigger campaign to attack both the clerk and myself, where they charged us with a conspiracy for hiring an expert to analyze the data. And the expert opined that it absolutely would be a felony to delete it. It had to be preserved. And so it took 2 years to work its way through the court system. But the judge just threw out the charges and said exactly what we've been saying all along, that they're making up law in an effort to discredit us, remove her from office, harass me, and cause me issues with my bar license.
Unbelievable. We just talked about at the top of the show, Stephanie, what's going on in Colorado with Tina Peters. Peter Tickton represents her. I know Peter Tickton has been working with you as well. Then you hear about Mike Lindell and the issues that he was just facing over the weekend, not just him, but all of the candidates. And then we come to you, and it's the same old story about how you're being targeted for questioning what could be going wrong with our machines, with our elections. This is political warfare, and I think that they're just trying to set a tone. If you see something, don't say something, because if you do say something, you're going to get charged with felonies, and you could end up like Tina Peters in prison. This has just gone on too long, and it's really disheartening to see. But the good news is a judge has just dismissed the charges against you. That has to be a sigh of relief after all of this fight that you have been going through for years.
That's right. It's great to be vindicated. What we've been saying all along is that they're making up law to ruin lives, and that's what they're trying to do to Tina's life. I'm one of Tina's attorneys. And that's what they tried to do to Stephanie Scott, the Adams Township clerk's life, and mine. And they haven't stopped. Just last Friday, I had someone in the courtroom watching Jonathan Brader testify at a hearing where he's trying to testify on behalf of the grievance commission to get Sidney Powell and others disbarred from the litigation from 2020. Now, had discovery been granted in that litigation, it would have shown what we obtained by FOIA, that some of the precincts had 33% of ballots returned with no application requesting one, that there were more envelopes than ballots, more ballots than envelopes. Detroit was not part of the risk limiting audit. It never had an audit. The FOIA that was done by Yehuda Miller is the only audit that's taken place of Detroit from the 2020 election. And we have at least 33% in a number of precincts, which extrapolates to about 100,000 ballots with no request for one. And that's still under investigation. But Jonathan Brader got on the stand this week and again, repeated the same lies and bad information. He was talking about this Halderman report from the Antrim County case. He did not disclose that there was Halderman rebuttal reports that talked about remote access to the machines, the data being erased and manipulated, and I could go on and on and on. So he's still repeating the same song and dance, which is actually an overt act to cover up his involvement with the 2020 election. So while most federal crimes have a 5-year statute of limitations, Jonathan Brader getting on the stand just extended that on Friday with his lies.
Unbelievable. So it's still going on. Where do you go from here, Stephanie?
I'm really proud of the clients that have just in their pursuit. Stephanie Scott is a hero. Pursued following the law. She just made another complaint I heard about where she's was a witness to an illegal election that was held. So continuing to address the problems and refusing to be silenced is, I think, the only thing that people can do. And I'm hearing that there will be accountability from the DOJ in the near future regarding crimes that they have evidence of in their files. And I think the charges are coming in the near future.
Does it concern you, looking at what you've gone through? And again, we can mention what Tina Peters has gone through, as well as others. Mike Lindell's been canceled. Does it concern you for the future? You know, with elections, midterms are coming up. The Save America Act still hasn't been passed, but there's honest people in local elections, state election, and even federal who want what's right. The American people want what's right. We want true, honest elections. And it doesn't matter who wins, we just want it to be fair. So if we see something doesn't look right, does it concern you that people may be too scared now to come forward? Because that's what these people want.
I am extremely concerned that the constitutional rights that we've all enjoyed, um, for years and years, are just being bypassed, and the rule of law was kind of just thrown out the window after 2020. And one example would be Tina Peters did not have a fair trial for many reasons related to evidentiary rulings, but one basic fundamental right is a fair and impartial jury. And after trial, a juror was interviewed and disclosed that she thought from the first Friday of trial to after she deliberated that she had been targeted. Her wires were cut to her office, and it cost her thousands of dollars, a ton of grief. But she thought because she was a juror that she had been targeted. And she never disclosed that to anyone. She didn't go to the judge, to the bailiff, to anyone, where Tina's attorneys could have timely addressed that in court to one, find out if she shared the fact that she thought she was being targeted with any of the other jurors, and hold a hearing. That's the proper remedy that everyone's entitled to. And on the very day that Tina lost her appeal in Colorado, the Court of Appeals reversed and remanded a case, a homicide case, for a similar issue with a juror. So murderers are entitled to fair trials and unbiased juries. And we just saw this with the Murdoch case getting reversed and remanded in South Carolina. Tina wasn't entitled to that. So Tina has a juror that thought she was targeted during the trial that obviously impacted her ability to be a fair and impartial juror. So to answer your question, I am extremely concerned that very serious rules and laws that we've all followed all along are just not being followed after 2020. Everything was made to be political when it never was. The right to vote, have your vote counted accurately and not diluted, is not a political issue. It's something that everyone should care about.
Right. It's an integrity issue. Well, Stephanie, I am so proud to tell our viewers that these charges against you were dropped, thrown out in this case there in Michigan. One more time, tell us where you go from here. What's the future look like for you? Do you think you'll still be targeted?
I'm still being targeted. So the former Adams Township clerk is Stephanie Scott, and thankfully this case has been dismissed. The felonies have been dismissed, but I'm still being targeted for working on the Antrim County case with attorney Matt DiPerno. We're both still charged. Same scenario, made up law to have a campaign against us, to take our bar licenses, ruin our lives for standing up and representing clients on an unpopular cause. So the Court of Appeals has that right now, where they're considering the law in advance of trial because the jury instructions were containing language, of course, that is inconsistent with statute. If the Attorney General or anyone wants to change the law in Michigan, the remedy is to go to the Michigan legislature and do that. It's not to make it up and then charge someone with their new made up law. So that too will be dismissed. But I truly appreciate your time and allowing me to share with everyone that we're getting Tina out today. And Stephanie Scott's case has been dismissed, with the exception of a misdemeanor that has to go back to the lower court to be addressed, and that will be dismissed as well, we anticipate. And my Oakland County case will be before the Court of Appeals this summer.
And we'll continue to follow that and update our viewers on that. But lots of good news to report today. Like you mentioned, Tina Peters is coming home. Your federal charges have been dropped. So it's a great day. And we'll continue to follow your journey.
Thank you.
Stephanie, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
When we come back, unidentified anomalies, a personal story of coming face to face with a UFO. We talk to an expert next.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, My Pillow mattresses and My Pillow mattress toppers as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
When you read one news source, you get one side. When you read two sources, you get an argument. Read 40 sources, and you get the truth. LindellReport.com, the only place you ever need to visit for your news. From LINDELLTV, over 40 trusted outlets in one place. No editorial gatekeepers, no hidden bias. Just the day's news. Balanced, unfiltered, ready when you are. Whether you lean left, right, or straight down the middle, this is where you start your day. One click, one feed, one truth. The decision is yours. LindellReport.com. The news you need, the balance you deserve.
A UFO expert who doesn't just study unexplained objects in the sky, he's experienced it firsthand. Indy Peterson is joining us today. Indy, so good to have you on the show. You know, UFOs have been in the headlines a lot recently with the Trump administration releasing classified documents. What is your take on the videos that we've seen that have been released so far?
On the files that, by the way, thank you for having me on. Of the files that have been released thus far, there's no indication that the alleged deep programs like Immaculate Constellation, which was the entire subject of the November 13th, 2024 congressional hearing that was headed up by Representative Nancy Mace, who, when she entered into the record, the Immaculate Constellation document, she said, I'm going to be put on, I've been warned I'm going to be put on some list and have a FISA out for me. Come get me, bros. So there's no indication that will be released, or the unknown MJ12 or whatever that group's called now, because it's unknown. And the CIA hasn't even released their files. However, the congressional hearings have been extremely amazing. I thought they were a Galileo moment where we realized we're not at the center of the universe, because they admitted that UFOs are real. They admitted that Roswell really happened. They admitted that they had been reverse engineering craft, as one of the representatives, I believe it was Nancy Mace. Yeah, it was Nancy Mace said, how is it that we have these craft being reverse engineered and we have people being injured, and yet the DOD says that there's no craft. So you can't have both. And they constantly brought up this issue that they're paying out millions of dollars to these people who are injured. Gary Nolan at Stanford University, the pathologist, he studied 100 of these people that were injured. They go out, the UFOs show up, they call them UAPs now. They show up at the launch control centers of nuclear sites, which is pretty frightening. And up to 10 to 20 times AI, ChatGPT admits to this. They could have potentially caused a nuclear war. I interviewed missileers that were had nervous breakdowns over it. And so these things are happening, and Congress, the public needs to get behind having these files released, just like the Epstein files, where initially they'd release nothing, and then later, after public outcry, the files came out. So we have the same issue now with these files.
This has been going on for decades, and the Trump administration has said we'll release the files. We've seen more of these files and know more about what's out there than we ever have from any other administration. But what do you believe, Indy, that the public is still not being told?
Well, again, the congressional hearings are much more revealing, and there's a lot more in there. But I've experienced the UFOs personally myself, so I know they're real.
Let's talk
Not
about
only
that.
had
What
one of
have you
these orbs come
experienced?
within 2 feet of my face, both me and my business partner. I bought 9 miles of an island down in Patagonia, one of the most remote parts of the planet. And when I bought the land, the locals said, well, the property that you're buying land, on this island is a known UFO base. And I laughed because I did not believe in UFOs. I thought that was crazy because no one could get a decent picture of one. Well, it turns out they were right. More than one told me that and warned me. And I eventually was encountered, as I mentioned, me and my business partner, an orb started, doing the zipping around right angle turns and from a great distance, and came down, navigated around side the truck where I was parked, and came up 2 feet from my face, and you could see inside of it. And then I also witnessed the largest cattle mutilation in South American history. You can look this up on AI, where hundreds of cows and sheep were mutilated in dozens in a single night. When I was there at the site when it happened, well, just after it happened, and they, cored out with surgical precision their eyes and their genitals and anus and stuff, and this case is illustrative because it disproves the existing theories. Number one theory that's most common is that the military is behind these testing radiation on cows or other biological testing. And that can be disproven because in the 20 years I was in Chile with my companies, the times that the US military showed up, everyone knew it. The ships would be off the coast, the guys with short haircuts, the gringos would be in Starbucks, etc. They weren't there. Number two, the Chilean military don't go in that region. I've never seen them in 20 years, and they don't have the budget for it. The other common explanations, like, these are Satanists or other things, or tricksters, can be ruled out because it happened in the winter in the rainforest, and you can't step without leaving tracks this deep in the muck. And then same thing with helicopters, because we tried for a TV show to get helicopter down there, and an unbelievable effort. So it's very good example that, and plus, most importantly, a lot of people saw these orbs at the same time the cattle mutilation happened, and it caused a panic. They call it a psychosis, and they sent the SAG and other officials down there to investigate it, to try to calm down the masses who were quite concerned. And the Jacques Vallée, scientist, has been in Brazil. This is where the front lines of where this is happening, South America. He was down in Brazil and documented over 1,000 people who've died. I saw the blood-curdling photos of humans now that are being mutilated just like the cows were. I know it's a little scary for your audience, but it's really happening. So the Congress is trying to disclose these things, so we have a battle between two sides. Congress that's wanting to disclose because they're not given any oversight of these deep state programs that are like Immaculate Constellation. Immaculate Constellation, that document that was entered in the public record, it pulled through AI from all the databases and sequestered it without human hands, without oversight, anything, and quarantine those files so they're away where nobody can see them. And so there's a fight going on trying to get those files out. And so there's a lot more that has to be exposed, because they're putting, they initially said, the government said that there's, these pose no national security risk. Well, that's a lie, because I've interviewed missileers who claim that they watched the nuclear war underway, and they literally went into a meltdown over it, the psychological meltdown. And one was telling me about this, and the other two are nodding their heads. Yes, we saw it. We were there. Scared the what out of us. And so they are definitely a threat. They're not like Steven Spielberg's going to present, at least based on the trailer on, I think it's the 12th that's coming out, where the alien's a nice friendly elk, just like E.T. riding on a bicycle. I don't believe they're friendly. So it's a battle. And there's a group that's reverse engineering these, and they're Catherine Austin Fitts, who was a former assistant secretary of HUD. She calls them a breakaway civilization. They're off on their own. She's traced $21 trillion that's going to these black budgets of reverse engineering these craft, and they're operating like I don't know, Chris Carter, who is a producer and a writer for X-Files. He said that someone in the CIA came and gave him some of the scripts for that show. So it talks about the syndicate with Cancer Man or Smoking Man, the assassin going off and killing people, whistleblowers and scientists, as we see now with, just now it's on Tucker. There was, I think it's up to 11 now, dead or missing. So it's a little frightening. So this group needs to be found out, and it's above the president. I could go through, if I had more time, the whole founding of all this and who's behind it and so forth, but we don't have time for that in a short segment.
Yeah, it's really scary to know how deep this really is. I'm interested to know, I know we just have a few minutes left here, Indy, but your encounter, let's talk about that even more, how close you came to these aliens, this UFO. What did you see? What was the look? What did it look like?
Well, there's two types. There's the craft. Just recently, a film came out, the Bob Lazar story, and he claims that they have a site, S4, I believe it's called, where they're reverse engineering these. That's the reverse engineering is coming out in the hearings, which is surprising, and that we have the craft. So they're admitting all this stuff now. In terms of myself, there's two types of the craft and the orbs. I believe I was closer to one of those orbs than anyone that I know of the thousands that have reported these. And Gary Nolan at Stanford University, pathologist, he, as I said, he examined 100 of these people that had these orbs. When the orbs show up on the nuclear missile sites, and they go out and see why they're disrupting their systems and taking over their systems, showing they have complete control over our systems. And there's been hundreds of these cases. You can look it up in AI, and AI said 10 to 20 of these could have potentially caused nuclear war. So they go out to inspect these, and they get zapped. And Gary Nolan said of the 100 he investigated, and he's working with the families on the legal cases with the government, 20 of those died, and the others had something similar to Havana syndrome, with a serious brain damage. Not all of them do that. That came up in the congressional hearing as well, that not all these orbs will damage people. I had one with 2 feet in my face. I could see inside of it and how it operates. And so, but those are the same things that showed up at the cattle mutilation, and those are what's showing up at the missile launch sites. And I have other experiences, which I get into in the book, which are even more amazing. So I realized that the island is, in fact, as the locals warned me ahead of time, a base. And in terms of the censoring that's going on, if you just type in sacrificing humanity in Amazon, it won't show it to you. It won't show you the book. And you have to put Indy Peterson and spell it correctly as well. Otherwise, Amazon won't show it to you. And my publisher said they've had the cover of my book, Amazon has, longer than any other book out there, and they won't put the cover up. So there's a little game playing going on. Same thing with Google. You have to type sacrificinghumanity.com, the entire URL, to even get. So the same things that Mike Lindell went through, believe me, I'm going through right now for this book. So
it's called fun censorship. We all deal with it. Yes. So everyone, I want everyone to go look up his book, purchase his book, Sacrificing Humanity. You'll have to type in his name, like he just mentioned, Indy Peterson. That's Peterson, in order to have this book pop up. Order your copy today. Very good information in there. Indy, love your story, what all you've uncovered, and enjoyed talking with you today. And we look forward to following what you uncover in the near future. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, it is June 1st, the start of hurricane season, the dreaded season if you live anywhere near the water. What can we expect this season? Meteorologist Dana Melanson joins us next.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks and 100% US-based customer service. Join Patriot Mobile today and make an impact every time you use your cell phone.
America's founders warned that without knowledge and virtue, no nation can remain free. Yet through the steady infiltration of Marxist ideology, we have been stripped of both, and we are no longer a moral and educated people. To save America, we must spark nothing less than a national renaissance. That's why you need Freedom Talk Magazine, the journal of truth and virtue. We cultivate enlightened thinking and principled living, offering unique insights into the issues and remarkable people defining our world. Sign up today for your free subscription to Freedom Talk Magazine and join the new American Renaissance.
Well, hello, everyone. Well, I'm turning 65, and let me tell you, Medicare has me confused. All the junk mail and the robocalls and everything else, it honestly feels like they rigged the system just to confuse us. Well, that's why I partnered and working with Chapter. They're independent, and they don't work for big insurance. They work for us. In fact, they're the only advisor that compares every single plan nationwide to find what actually fits your needs. If you're on the right plan, they tell you. If you're not, they're going to help you switch. And it's completely free. Just last year, seniors saved about $1,100 by finding a better plan with Chapter. So call Chapter at 234-LINDELL or go to askchapter.org/Lindell. You know, most people think water's just about filtration, but in reality, it's about balance. What gets removed, what gets left behind, and how the water actually behaves once you drink it. Well, many traditional systems focus on one thing, removal. Reverse osmosis, for example, strips water down completely. It may sound ideal, but it removes minerals that our bodies need. The Century Wellness System was designed with a different philosophy. It removes common contaminants like chlorine, fluoride, and PFAS while restoring key minerals like magnesium and improving alkalinity. It also does all this without tanks and without wastewater and without requiring a complicated installation. It installs in about 15 minutes under your sink, so instead of overcorrecting, it brings your water back into balance. please visit SentryH2O.com and use promo code Lindell for 10% off your next purchase.
I love the summer months, but when June 1st rolls around every year, I just say a big prayer. Lord, please keep these hurricanes away from our land. Today marks the official start of the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season. Meteorologists are urging families along the Gulf Coast and Atlantic coast to review emergency plans, stock disaster supplies, and stay informed. Here's this season's outlook from meteorologist Dana Melanson.
Good morning, Vanessa. Yeah, we're officially in hurricane season now. June 1 marks the start. And although Mother Nature doesn't tend to follow a clock like we do, this is the time that we, as forecasters, have determined that hurricane season obviously is more apt to be active. And this year, hurricane forecasters are forecasting the season to be a little less active than normal. Sort of good news there. For 2026 now, total named storms between 8 and 14, the average being 14, so well below what we normally see. Number of actually forming hurricanes will be between 3 and 6. The average is 7. Lower than normal. And major being category 3 or above, are expecting between 1 and 3 storms, and the average is 3. The Saffir-Simpson scale, we are all very well versed with this, especially if you live along the Gulf Coast. Category 1 starts our ranking off between 74 and 95 mile per hour winds in that storm. That makes it a category 1 storm. Starting the major category is at category 3, where we see winds sustained between 111 and 129 miles per hour. Going all the way up to Cat 5, 157 miles per hour or higher. And last year was a really notable year in that we had no hurricanes that made landfall on the continental U.S. We did have an extremely powerful storm in the form of Hurricane Melissa. Not sure if you remember Melissa or not, but Melissa got up to 180 plus mile per hour winds, not striking the U.S. directly, but causing major catastrophic conditions in Jamaica. Now, this is the reason forecasters are thinking that this season might be a little quieter than normal. El Nino has become sort of a new word, a dialect for us for the last 10 years or so. El Nino pattern occurs when there is an upwelling of warmer than normal waters in the Pacific. Now, why would that affect us here in the Atlantic? Because in the upper levels, that tends to cause directional effect to any storms that would be forming in not only the Gulf, but mainly the Atlantic. Directional and development. Now, El Nino could affect both. If it is a super El Nino, a really strong effect from the process of El Nino happening, it could affect both of those aspects. Development in the form of continuing to inhibit that rising water and rising energy, but also direction, keeping the storms off into the Atlantic. So we'll see how that plays out, but this is the reason that hurricane forecasters are expecting it to be a quieter than normal season. Our peak season for the hurricane development will be in the month of September. Sort of starts waning down the middle of October. So again, that's sort of a little barometer, if you will, that we use as far as expecting the development for hurricanes. This is a quick list of hurricane names, and if you'll note, the name Melissa has been retired because of the catastrophic events that it caused last season here, in Jamaica. So you won't see that. It is replaced with Marco. Right now, we're starting off with things quiet. The fronts that affected the U.S. last week and will continue to affect us for the course of this week will continue to keep pushing anything to develop off into the Atlantic. But here we will continue to keep you updated on any developments in hurricane season as we progress. And again, goes until the end of November. Vanessa?
Yeah, November 30th is when the season ends. That's how long hurricane season is along the Gulf Coast, Atlantic coast. Preparation is key, as Dana just mentioned. And if you live anywhere near the water, you know just how important that is. All right, let's see how the markets are opening today on this Monday. A live look from MarketWatch.com. Taking a look at the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. The Dow just down a little bit this morning. Not too bad. Markets are being supported by continued strength in AI and technology stocks. Investors are watching developments in the Middle East, and they are preparing for key economic data later this week, including the monthly jobs report. So that is expected later on in the week. In your news to go, a quick glimpse of other news headlines we're following today. President Trump is responding to musicians and singers backing out of the America 250 State Fair. Remember, we talked about this last week. He's now saying, just cancel it and let's just have one big MAGA rally in Washington, D.C. instead. No word yet on if and when this would take place, but the president clearly not happy with these so-called artists like Martina McBride and Bret Michaels backing out for political reasons. We will definitely keep you posted. And here's the president's schedule for today. Taking a look at 8 o'clock this morning, he held an executive meeting. At 11 o'clock, he will participate in a policy meeting. At 4:30, he will sign an executive order. No word on what that executive order will be, but it is closed to the press. Then at 5 o'clock, he will hold another policy meeting. For all your top news headlines today and always, you can log on to LINDELLTV.com. You can also download the Lindell TV app. It is free in your app store. Now to our Bible verse of the day, coming from the book of Matthew. The Bible says this, "And Jesus answered and said to them, Truly I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but even if you say this to the mountain, be taken up and cast into the sea, it will happen. And all things you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive." And that'll do it for us here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. We leave you today with sights from Kansas. Have a great day.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LINDELLTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LINDELLTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country. When you read one news source, you get one side. When you read two sources, you get an argument. Read 40 sources, and you get the truth. LindellReport.com, the only place you ever need to visit for your news. From LindellTV, over 40 trusted outlets in one place. No editorial gatekeepers, no hidden bias. Just the day's news. Balanced, unfiltered, ready when you are. Whether you lean left, right, or straight down the middle, this is where you start your day. One click, one feed, one truth. The decision is yours. LindellReport.com. The news you need, the balance you deserve.
Too many pharmacies and insurance companies are blocking the medications that actually work. That's why I recommend All Family Pharmacy. They give you access to treatments like ivermectin now, starting at just $2 a capsule. They also have methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine, and so much more. They're helping you stay prepared, and they've dropped their prices by 25%. Also use promo code Lindell10, you save even more. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Use promo